In June of 2014, Naruto Chapter 679 was released, and it was quite literally a chapter that changed everything. Now let's set the scene. Naruto and Sasuke have just been revived and have the seemingly invincible Madara on the ropes. But then, Madara absorbs the Divine Tree and regains his lost Rinnegan. Then, initiates the Infinite Tsukiyomi and traps the world's population within it, with the exception of Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Obito. Now the stage has been set. Team 7 versus a now full-powered Madara. The final battle is about to... And Black Zetsu just stabbed Madara in the back, and now he transforms into some alien chick.
What?
To say that this twist wasn't widely received by the fanbase would be a bit of an understatement. Hell, even today, almost 8 years after her reveal, Kaguya is still viewed as one of people's least favorite antagonists. And the reveal that she is an alien is often brought up as a point that Naruto had lost its way completely, or is now truly a Dragon Ball ripoff.
But what if I were to tell you that her inclusion makes sense if you view the series from a Buddhist perspective?
Let's begin by going over the inspiration for Kaguya. Kaguya in her time was known by the people as the rabbit goddess, and eventually she became the moon, which is kind of like a weird arc, going from a rabbit goddess to the moon. But believe it or not, the moon rabbit is very common in Asian folklore, and a version of it appears in one of the Jakta, which are a collection of stories of the Buddha Gautama's previous lives.
So, in the story, the rabbit and 3 other animals wanted to practice charity on the day of the full moon. Full moon. The group eventually met an old man who begged for food. The other animals collected an assortment of different foods, from berries
to fish to curdled milk. However, the rabbit only knew how to collect grass. And so, the rabbit decided to jump into a fire so that the old man prepared so he can eat him. However, the rabbit didn't burn. And it's revealed that the old beggar was actually Sakura, a chief deity of the Buddhist mythology, who was so touched by the rabbit's sacrifice, or attempt of sacrifice, and decided to draw the rabbit's image on the moon. Oh yeah, I can see it if I squint really hard. So what's the rabbit's role in the story? What does it represent? Well, many interpretations of the story refer to the rabbit as a bodhicitta, or a being that is on the path of enlightenment, or has achieved an enlightened mind. Now, this is very important because I would argue that a common theme in every major antagonist that Naruto faced from Pain on represented various levels of enlightenment. Okay, so a quick explanation of what enlightenment means in Buddhism. An enlightened being is essentially one that has overcome desire and as a result has overcome the suffering of the world. Pain was a human who declared himself a god, and was someone who was steeped in both his desire for peace and was unable to overcome the pain of his past. He was quite literally stuck in the cycle of suffering and desire. Next we have Obito, who was unable to move past his desire to see Rin again, but was able to move past his suffering, albeit by deluding himself with his desire of being able to be with a Rin who is not dead. Next up, we have Madara, someone who was capable of overcoming his own desire and his suffering, who almost became enlightened. Now, I feel like I should justify Madara's desirelessness a little more, because the Project Tsukinome was his plan. So, how was he not moved by desire? Well, that's because having a goal is not the same thing as having a desire. A huge part of a desireless mind in Buddhism is being able to give up control and trust the universe, to have things work out the way that you intend. Madara's actions clearly represent this. As for the majority of his plan, he's dead until the very end and has to trust that both Obito and Nagato are able to fulfill their parts. So, if Madara represents a human who achieved enlightenment, why do we need Kaguya? Well, that's because the character of Madara still has one thing holding him back. And that's him being the character of Madara. Or in other words, his ego. Let's return to the scene. Madara has just absorbed the Divine Tree into his being. He regained his lost Rinnegan, and he was able to unlock the Rinne Sharingan, or in other words, opened up his third eye, which symbolizes enlightenment. Then, out of nowhere, Black Zetsu, who at the time was the representation of Madara's will, stabs him in the back and swallows him up, revealing the originator chakra, Kaguya. I explained this more in my previous video on chakra, but the concept of chakra in the series is very reminiscent of universal oneness and interconnectivity. And in certain Eastern traditions, what connects all of us is God, who is within all of us, and what separates us is our ego. So Black Zetsu, stabbing Madara, represents the death of the ego and discovering the inner God that is within you, or a higher form of enlightenment. Hopefully at this point you're thinking to yourself, okay, so Kaguya does represent some thematic conclusion to something that all the way started back in the Pain arc. But you're probably wondering, why is she an alien? Well, let's return to the story of the moon rabbit. The rabbit represented a bodhicitta, which, unlike the Buddha, is someone who is someone with an enlightened mind. However, they are still susceptible to the cycle of reincarnation. In fact, they choose to reincarnate. See, the difference is, upon their death, a Buddha will transcend into nirvana, while a bodhicitta will return back into the world as a way to help other people or other beings achieve a higher level. So let's put ourselves in Kishimoto's shoes. How do you show that someone is on a higher plane than a human being without making them a true God or the ultimate God? Because you know that the series is going to continue and there has to be room for things to escalate. Well, you make them an alien. Aliens come from a higher plane of existence, i.e. space, and are distinctly not human, which are the two requirements that Kaguya had to fulfill in order for her to come across as a true successor to Madara. Now, before I conclude, I just want to make something clear. This is not me saying that Kaguya is a better antagonist than Madara. Personally, I don't believe that. It was mainly to show that Kaguya's character had a lot more thought put into it and a lot more thematic weight and relevance than what a lot of people tend to show her. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments down below, who do you prefer, Madara or Kaguya? Until next time.